Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day. Don't forget, grab your smartphone and download the Lava Matra app and stay in touch. Guru Mahārāja's message is your advantage. The following is a Sri Kṛṣṇa Caitanya book compilation given by His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Mahārāja on April 3rd, 2021 in Sri Mayapur, India.
Pangong langayate girim yat kripa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Deenatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Mishwaram Harihi Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna. Today we'll continue with the compilation of the Sri Kṛṣṇa Caitanya book. Today's chapter is entitled as King Pratāparudra gets the Bahirvāsa of Lord Caitanya by the tact of Nityānanda Prabhu. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.4.
দাক্ষিণাত্য হইতে আসার পর প্রতাপরুদ্রের প্রভু দর্শন উৎকণ্ঠা পূর্বে দক্ষিণ হইতে প্রভু যবে আইলা তারে মিলিতে গজপতি উৎকণ্ঠিত হইলা.
When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu returned from his South Indian tour, Mahārāja Pratāparudra, the king of Orissa, became very anxious to meet him. CC Madhya Leela 12.5.
দর্শনার্থে ভট্টাচার্যকে প্রভুর অনুমতির জন্য লিপি প্রেরণ. কটক হইতে পত্রী দিল সার্বভৌম ঠায় প্রভু আজ্ঞা হয় যদি দেখিবারে যায়.
The king sent a letter from his capital Katak to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, entreating him to obtain the Lord's permission so that he could go and see him. CCM 12.6. CCML 12.6.
ভট্ট কর্তৃক প্রভুর নিষেধাজ্ঞা জ্ঞাপন পুনঃ লৌল লিপি প্রেরণ. ভট্টাচার্য লিখিল প্রভুর আজ্ঞা না হইল পুনরপি রাজা তারে পত্রী পাঠাইল.
Replying to the king's letter, the Bhattacharya wrote that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had not given his permission. After this, the king wrote to him another letter. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.7.
ভক্তগণ সমীপে অভীষ্ট সিদ্ধির জন্য প্রার্থনা. প্রভুর নিকটে আছে যত ভক্তগণ মোর লাগি তা সবারে করিও নিবেদন.
In this letter, the king requested Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, please appeal to all the devotees associated with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and submit this petition to them on my behalf.
So, Mahārāja Pratāparudra is very anxious to the personal audience with Lord Chaitanya.
So Mahārāja Pratāparudra was very anxious to have the personal audience with Lord Chaitanya.
So, when his direct approach didn't work, he's trying another strategy.
So when his direct approach doesn't work, he's trying another strategy.
He's very anxious to meet Lord Chaitanya
He's very anxious to meet Lord Chaitanya personally.
সেই সব দয়ালু মোরে হইয়া সদায় মোর লাগে প্রভু পদে করিবে বিনয়.
If all the devotees associated with the Lord are favorably disposed toward me, they can submit my petition at the lotus feet of the Lord.
So Mahārāja Pratāparudra is trying to have the other devotees plead on his behalf.
So Mahārāja Pratāparudra is trying to have other devotees to plead on his behalf. 12.9.
সবার প্রসাদে মিলে শ্রী প্রভুর পায় প্রভু কৃপা বিনা মোর রাজ্য নাহি ভাই।
By the mercy of all the devotees, one can attain the shelter of the lotus feet of the Lord. Without His mercy, my kingdom does not appeal to me. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.10.
প্রভু কৃপার অভাবে রাজার নির্বেদ এবং রাজ্য ত্যাগের প্রতিজ্ঞা। যদি মোরের কৃপা না করিবে গৌরা হরি রাজ্য ছাড়ি যোগী হইব ভিখারি।
If Gaurahari, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, will not show mercy to me, I shall give up my kingdom, become a mendicant, and beg from door to door. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.11.
সকল ভক্তকে রাজপত্র প্রদর্শন। ভট্টাচার্য পত্রে দেখি চিন্তিত হইয়া ভক্তগণ পাশ গেলা সেই পত্রে লইয়া।
When the Bhattacharya received this letter, he became very anxious. He then took the letter and went to the devotees of the Lord.
So Pratāparudra, he wanted to satisfy the request of the king.
So Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he wanted to satisfy the request of the king. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.12.
বারে মিলিয়া কহিল রাজ বিবরণ পিছে সেই পত্রী সবারে করাইল দর্শন।
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya met with all the devotees and described the king's wishes. Then he presented the letter to all of them for inspection. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela.
The Lord Chaitanya is by nature independent.
See, Lord Chaitanya, he is by nature independent.
He may do or he may not do.
He may do or he may not do.
So, but since the king is asking, then Sarvabhauma is trying.
So, since the king is asking, so Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is trying. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.2.
রাজার প্রভুভক্তি দর্শনে সকল ভক্তেরই বিস্ময়। পত্রে দেখি সবার মনে হইল বিস্ময় প্রভু পদে গজপতির এত ভক্তি হয়।
Upon reading the letter, everyone was astonished to see that King Pratāparudra had so much devotion for the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.14.
সকলেরই প্রভুর দৃঢ় সংকল্প হেতু ভয় ও রাজাকে অপ্রিয় সত্যকথনে অনিচ্ছা। সবে কহে প্রভু তারে কভু না মিলিবে আমি সব কহি যদি দুঃখ সে মানিবে।
The devotees gave their opinion and said, "The Lord will never meet the king, and if we requested him to do so, the Lord would surely feel very unhappy."
So the devotees naturally want to please the Lord and make him happy.
So the devotees, naturally, they want to please the Lord and make him happy.
But they thought if they present the king's request,
But they thought if they present the king's request,
he will not accept.
he will not accept.
He will feel unhappy.
He will feel unhappy. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.15.
সার্বভৌমের যুক্তি প্রভুর নিকট রাজার ভগবত ভক্তির নিষ্ঠা বর্ণনে ইচ্ছা। সার্বভৌম কহে সবে চলো একবার মিলিতে না কহিব রাজ ব্যবহার।
Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then said, "We shall go once again to the Lord, but we shall not request him to meet the king. Rather, we shall simply describe the good behavior of the king." Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 12.16.
প্রভু সমীপে আসিয়াও সকলে রাজার কথা জ্ঞাপন করিতে ভয়। এত বলি সবে গেলা মহাপ্রভুর স্থানে, কহিতে উন্মুখ সবে না কহে বচনে।
Having thus reached a decision, they all went to the palace of Sri Having thus reached a decision, they all went to the place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There, although ready to speak, they could not even utter a word.
Because Lord Caitanya had forbade them from bringing up a request with the king.
So, since Lord Chaitanya had forbade them to bring up the request from the king,
So they were naturally hesitant to say anything.
so they were naturally hesitant to say anything. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 12.17.
সকলের ভয় চকিত দৃষ্টি দর্শনে প্রভুর আগমন কারণ জিজ্ঞাসা। প্রভু কহে কি কহিতে সবার আগমন, দেখিয়ে কহিতে চাও না কহ কি কারণ।
After they arrived at Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's place, the Lord, seeing them, said, "What have you all come here to say? I see that you want to say something, but you do not speak. What is the reason?"
Lord Caitanya, he can understand.
So Lord Chaitanya, he can understand
Something is going on.
something is gone wrong. Going on. Sorry, Shri Guru. That something is going on.
নিত্যানন্দের সভয়ে বক্তব্য নিবেদন। নিত্যানন্দ কহে তোমায় চাহি নিবেদিতে, না কহিলে রাখিতে নারী, কহিতে ভয় চিত্তে।
Nityānanda Prabhu then said, "We want to tell you something. Although we cannot stay without speaking, we are still very much afraid to speak." Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 12.19.
যজ্ঞাযোগ্য তোমায় সব চাহি নিবেদিতে, তোমা না মিলিলে রাজা চাহে যোগী হইতে।
We want to submit before you something that may or may not be befitting. The matter is this: unless he sees you, the king of Orissa will become a mendicant. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 12.20.
গৌর কৃপার অভাবে রাজ প্রতিজ্ঞা নিবেদন। কানে মুদ্রালয় মুই হইব ভিখারি, রাজ্য ভোগ নহে চিত্তে বিনা গৌর হরি।
Nityānanda Prabhu continued, "The king has decided to become a mendicant and accept the sign of a mendicant by wearing an ivory earring. He does not want to enjoy his kingdom without seeing the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu." Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. In India, there is still a class of a professional mendicant who are very much like the gypsies of Western countries. They know some magical art and mystical processes, and their business is to beg from door to door, sometimes pleading and sometimes threatening. Such mendicants are sometimes called yogi, sometimes are called Kanapatha yogis. The word Kanapatha refers to one who has put a hole in his ear to wear an earring made of ivory. Mahārāja Pratāparudra was so depressed by not getting to see Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he decided to become such a yogi. Ordinary men think that a yogi must have an ivory earring in his ear, but this is not the sign of a real yogi. Mahārāja Pratāparudra also thought that to become a mendicant yogi, one must wear such an earring.
So this was a bit of a speculation on the part of Mahārāja Pratāparudra.
So, this was a bit of a speculation on the part of Mahārāja Pratāparudra.
And what it means that he was feeling great depression.
But it means that he was feeling great depression.
Everyone in the kingdom could see Lord Caitanya,
Everyone in his kingdom could see Lord Caitanya
except him.
except him.
So he thought, what is the use of keeping the kingdom?
So he thought, what is the use of keeping the kingdom?
A lot of devotion for Lord Caitanya.
So he had a lot of devotion for Lord Caitanya.
That's why the devotees presented his case.
So that's why the devotees presented his case. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.21.
রাজার গারো গৌর অনুরাগ দেখিব সে মুখচন্দ্র নয়ন ভরিয়া ধরিব সে পাদ পদ্ম হৃদয়ে তুলিয়া.
Nityānanda Prabhu continued. The king also expressed his desire to see the moon-like face of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his eyes' full satisfaction. He would like to raise the lotus feet of the Lord to his heart. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela.
One time, one minister in Bengal came and then touched the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada.
One time, a minister in Bengal, he came and touched the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada.
And the secretary of Srila Prabhupada wanted to physically stop him.
So, the secretary of Srila Prabhupada wanted to physically stop him,
Which could have caused some significant problem.
which could have caused some significant problem.
But Srila Prabhupada stopped the secretary
But Srila Prabhupada stopped the secretary
and said this is a local custom.
and said this is a local custom,
That people touch the feet of the Guru.
that people want to touch the feet of the Guru.
So like that, Mahārāja Pratāparudra
So like that, Mahārāja Jayapataka Pratāparudra
wanted to see the Lord's lotus feet and take the dust.
wanted to see the Lord's lotus feet and take the dust. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.20.
প্রভুর আচার্যচিত কঠোর সন্ন্যাস ধর্মপর বাক্য যদ্যপি শুনিয়া প্রভুর কমল হয় মন তথাপি বাহিরে কহে নিষ্ঠুর বচন.
Hearing all these statements, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mind was certainly softened, but externally he wished to speak some harsh words.
Lord Caitanya, naturally soft-hearted,
So, Lord Chaitanya is naturally soft-hearted,
it had affected him.
but it had affected him.
But still, he wanted to speak harsh words.
But still, he wanted to speak harsh words.
What else to put after this?
Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.23.
রাজ দর্শন রূপ ভক্তগণের ইচ্ছা জানিয়া প্রভুর অনুযোগ তোমার সবার ইচ্ছা এই আমারে লইয়া রাজাকে মিল হই কটকতে গিয়া.
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, I can understand that you all desire to take me to Cuttack to see the king. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is naturally the reservoir of all kindness, and as soon as he heard the statement made by the king, his heart immediately softened. Thus the Lord was ready to go see the king even at Cuttack. he did not even consider allowing the king to come from Cuttack to Jagannath Puri to see him. It is significant that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so kind that he was ready to go see the king at Cuttack. Apparently, it was never expected that the king wanted to see the Lord at his place. But by the way of being externally harsh, the Lord indicated that if all the devotees so desired, he would go to Cuttack to see the king.
So he was responding in an extreme way.
So here he is responding in an extreme way.
That you want to take me to Cuttack
That if you want to take me to Cuttack
to see the king.
to see the king,
After the king, we go to Jagannath Puri to see Lord Caitanya.
but actually the king will go to Jagannath Puri to see Lord Chaitanya.
And Lord Caitanya is expressing in a harsh way
But Lord Chaitanya is expressing in a harsh way. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.24.
বিধি লঙ্ঘনে লোকনিন্দা ও দামোদর পণ্ডিতের বাগদণ্ডের সম্ভাবনা। পরমার্থ থাকু লোকে করিবে নিন্দন, লোকে রোহ দামোদর করিবে ভৎসন।
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, "What to speak of spiritual advancement? All the people will blaspheme me. And what to speak of all the people? Damodar would chastise me."
the Dhamma Pandit, he is a moralist who would advise Lord Chaitanya if he did anything wrong.
So Damodar Pandit, he was a moralist who would advise Lord Chaitanya if he did anything wrong.
Although Lord Chaitanya was beyond all the rules and regulations,
Although Lord Chaitanya is beyond all the rules and regulations,
Dhamma Pandit was criticizing the Lord for everything and anything.
Damodar Pandit was criticizing the Lord for everything and anything.
And what was the kind of service he was doing.
But it's a kind of a service usually.
মর্যাদা প্রদর্শন ছলে দামোদরের অনধিকার চর্চার প্রতি কটাক্ষ। তোমা সবার আজ্ঞায় আমি না মিলি রাজারে, দামোদর কহে যাবে মিলি তবে তারে।
I shall not meet the king at the request of all the devotees, but I shall do so if Damodar will give his permission. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. From the spiritual point of view, a sannyasi is strictly forbidden to see a materialistic person, to see materialistic people, especially a king who is always engaged in counting pounds, shilling and pence. Indeed, the meeting between a sannyasi and a king is always considered abominable. A sannyasi is always subjected to public criticism, and a small fault on his part is taken seriously by the public. People actually expect a sannyasi to preach and not to take part in any social or political matters. If a sannyasi is subject to public criticism, his preaching will not be fruitful. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu specifically wanted to avoid such criticism so that his preaching work would not be hampered. It is so happened that while the Lord was talking to his disciples at that time, the devotee Damodar Pandit was present. This Damodar Pandit was a very faithful devotee and a staunch lover of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whenever there was anything that might touch or taint the character of the Lord, Damodar Pandit would immediately point it out, not even considering the exalted position of the Lord. It is sometimes said that the fools rush in where angels dare not, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to point out Damodar Pandit's foolishness in coming forward to criticize the Lord. This is why the Lord stated that if Damodar Pandit would give him permission, he would go to see the king. There was a deep meaning in this statement, for it is a warning that Damodar should not dare to criticize the Lord anymore, for it was not befitting his position as a devotee. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu was considered the guide and spiritual master of all the devotees living with him. Damodar Pandit was one of them, and the Lord rendered Damodar Pandit a special favor by warning him to avoid criticizing him any further. A devotee or a disciple should never attempt to criticize the Lord or his representative, the spiritual master.
So Damodar Pandit, he would do the Maryada Angana,
So Damodar Pandit, he would do the Maryada Ulangana,
or he would disregard the senior position of Lord Chaitanya
where he would disregard the senior position of Lord Chaitanya
and criticize him for what he considered was benefit.
and criticized him what he considered would be benefit for him.
It was not befitting our devotee.
But it is not befitting for a devotee.
He was so outspoken against the Lord.
He was so outspoken against the Lord. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 12.26.
দামোদরের অভিমান ও অনুযোগ। দামোদর কহে তুমি স্বতন্ত্র ঈশ্বর, কর্তব্য অকর্তব্য সব তোমার গোচর।
Damodar immediately replied, My Lord, you are the fully independent Supreme Personality of Godhead. Since everything is known to you, you know what is permissible and what is not permissible. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 12.27.
আমি কোন ক্ষুদ্র জীব তোমাকে বিধি দিব, আপনি মিলিবে তারে তাহাও দেখিব।
I am merely an insignificant jiva. So what power do I have to give directions to you? By your own personal choice, you will meet with the king. I shall see it. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 12.28.
রাজা তোমারে স্নেহ করে, তুমি স্নেহ বশ, তার স্নেহ করাবে তারে তোমার পরশ।
The king is very much attached to you, and you are feeling affection and love toward him. Thus, I can understand that by virtue of the king's affection for you, you will touch him. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 12.29.
যদ্যপি ঈশ্বর তুমি পরম স্বতন্ত্র, তথাপি স্বভাবে হও প্রেম পরতন্ত্র।
Although you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead and are completely independent, still you are dependent on the love and affection of a devotee. That is your nature. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela. So Damodar Pandit made this reply.
Being put on the spotlight.
Being put on the spotlight.
He said how the Lord was independent.
He said how the Lord was independent.
Sometimes he would also venture to advise Lord Chaitanya
Sometimes he would also venture to advise Lord Chaitanya
what he should or shouldn't do.
what he should or shouldn't do. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 12.30.
প্রভুর মতে মত দিয়া নিত্যানন্দের রাজ অনুরাগ সমর্থন। নিত্যানন্দ কহে ঐচে হয় কুঞ্জন, যে তোমারে কহে করো রাজ দর্শন।
Nityānanda Prabhu then said, Who's there in the three worlds who can ask you to see the king? Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 12.31.
কৃষ্ণ অনুরাগীর স্বভাব ও যাজ্ঞিক বিপ্রপত্নীগণের দৃষ্টান্ত। কিন্তু অনুরাগী লোকের স্বভাবে ক্ষয়, ইষ্ট না পাইল নিজ প্রাণ সে ছাড়য়।
Still, isn't it the nature of an attached man to give up his life if he does not attain his desired object?
Lord Nityānanda is bringing to light that the king is so desperate.
So Lord Chaitanya, so Lord Nityānanda is bringing to light that the king is so desperate
That he may take his life.
Therefore,
although they can't ask Lord Chaitanya to see him,
that although the king asked Lord Chaitanya to see him,
they went somehow to save the king.
They went somehow to save the king.
Since he is a devotee and doing much service.
Since he is devotee and he is doing much service.
যাজ্ঞে ব্রাহ্মণী সব তাহাতে প্রমাণ, কৃষ্ণ লাগি পতি আগে ছাড়িলে প্রাণ।
For instance, some of the wives of the Brahmanas who were performing sacrifices gave up their lives in the presence of their husbands for the sake of Kṛṣṇa. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This refers to the day Lord Kṛṣṇa and his cowherd boys and flocks of animals were present in the pasturing grounds near Mathura. At that time, the cowherd boys, being little hungry, requested food, and Lord Kṛṣṇa asked them to go to the Brahmanas who were engaged nearby in performing yajna or sacrifice, and to get some food from that yajna. Being so ordered by the Lord, all the cowherd boys went to the Brahmanas and asked them for food, but they were denied. After this, the cowherd boys begged for food from the wives of the Brahmanas. All these wives were very much devoted to Lord Kṛṣṇa in spontaneous love, and as soon as they heard that the request of the cowherd boys and understood that Kṛṣṇa wanted some food, they immediately left the place of sacrifice. They were very much chastised for this by their husbands, and they were ready to give up their lives. It is the nature of a pure devotee to sacrifice his life for the transcendental loving service of the Lord.
This shows how the ladies are more devoted to the Lord.
So this shows how the ladies were more devoted to the Lord.
They are unconditional.
They were unconditional.
But because they are Brahmanas and Kṛṣṇa was playing the Bahirvāsa,
Because they were Brahmanas and Kṛṣṇa was playing the part of a Vaishya,
therefore Kṛṣṇa could not
satisfy them. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.33.
নিত্যানন্দের যুক্তি। এক যুক্তি আছে যদি করো অবধান, তুমি না মিলিলেও তারে রহে তার প্রাণ।
Nityānanda Prabhu then submitted one suggestion for the Lord's consideration. There is a way, he suggested, by which you need not to meet the king, but which would enable the king to continue living. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya.
Lord Nityānanda has a strategy.
Wow, Lord Nityānanda has a strategy.
Wow. Let's listen.
Let's listen. Hari Bol. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.34.
এক বহির্বাস যদি দেও কৃপা করি, তাহা পাইয়া প্রাণ রাখে তোমার আশা ধরি।
If you, out of your mercy, send one of your outer garments to the king would live hoping to see you sometime in the future. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Sri Nityānanda Prabhu was thus very tactfully suggesting that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu give a piece of his old clothing to the king. Even though the king was not to meet the Lord and the king would be then pacified by receiving such a cloth. The king was very anxious to see the Lord, yet it was not possible for the Lord to see him. Just to resolve the situation, Nityānanda Prabhu suggested that the Lord sent an old piece of his clothing. Thus the king would understand that the Lord was showing mercy to him. The king would then not do anything drastic like giving up his life or becoming a mendicant.
Lord Nityānanda, he understood what would satisfy the king to some extent.
So Lord Nityānanda, he understood what would satisfy the king to some extent,
what would preserve the Lord's good nature, good reputation.
and what would preserve the Lord's good reputation.
Says that like a white cloth with a little ink spot,
It says that a white cloth with a little ink spot,
and the whole cloth appears tainted.
that the whole cloth appears tainted.
So sannyasi, there's a little criticism of his character and paid the preaching work.
So, if a sannyasi has a little blame on his character, that would impede his preaching. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.30.
নিত্যানন্দ আদির বশ প্রভু প্রভু কহে তুমি সব পরম বিদ্বান যে ভালো হয় সেই কর সমাধান
The Lord said, since you are all very learned personalities, whatever you decide, I shall accept. Chaitanya Charitamrita 12.36.
নিত্যানন্দ কর্তৃক গোবিন্দ সমীপে প্রভুর বহির্বাস গ্রহণ তবে নিত্যানন্দ গোসাই গোবিন্দের পাশ মাগিয়া লইল প্রভুর এক বহির্বাস
Lord Nityananda Prabhu then obtained an external garment used by the Lord by requesting it from Govinda.
Sannyasi, he has a certain cloth.
So a sannyasi, he has a certain cloth.
He wears a kopin,
He wears a kopin,
which is a kind of loin cloth.
which is kind of an inner cloth,
Loin cloth.
lion cloth.
And he wears an external
Then
cloth,
he wears an external cloth,
which from the waist down to the feet.
which from the waist down to the feet.
It's called the Bahirvāsa.
This is called as the Bahirvāsa.
And then he wears a cloth around his neck,
So he wears a cloth down to his neck,
around his neck,
which
which is also used for begging.
can also be used for begging.
And that cloth is called the Uttarya.
And that cloth is called the Uttariya.
And then in the tropical climates, sannyasi would wear a cloth on the upper body,
So in the tropical climates, the sannyasi would wear a cloth on the upper body,
which is like a chadar.
which is like a chadar.
So it's called a chadar.
It is called as a chadar.
This is the standard clothing of a sannyasi.
So this is the standard clothing of a sannyasi.
In the cold weather, the sannyasi may wear a shirt.
So in the cold weather, he might seem wearing a shirt.
That's kind of modern adaptation.
So that is a kind of a modern adaptation. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.37.
সার্বভৌম দ্বারে রাজাকে ওহা প্রেরণ সেই বহির্বাস সার্বভৌম পাশ দিল সার্বভৌম সেই বস্ত্র রাজারে পাঠালো
Thus Nityananda Prabhu delivered the old cloth into the care of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya sent it to the king. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 12.38.
প্রভুর বস্ত্র প্রভু সহ অভিন্ন জানিয়া রাজার সেবা বস্ত্র পাইয়া রাজার হইল আনন্দিত মন প্রভু রূপ করি করে বস্ত্রের পূজন
When the king received the old cloth, he began to worship it exactly as he would worship the Lord personally. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This is also the conclusion of the Vedic injunctions. Since the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the Absolute Truth, everything in relation to Him is on the same platform. The king had great affection for Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and although he did not see the Lord, he had nonetheless already attained the conclusion of devotional service. Immediately upon receiving the cloth from Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the king began to worship it, accepting it as Sri Kṛṣṇa Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The Lord's clothing, bedding, sleepers, and everything required as an ordinary necessity, all transformations of Sesha, Vishnu, the expansion of Sri Baladeva. Thus, the cloth and other paraphernalia of the Supreme Personality of Godhead are but other form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything connected to the Lord is worshipable. Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu instructs us that just as Kṛṣṇa is worshipable, Kṛṣṇa's place Vrindavan is also worshipable. And as Vrindavan is worshipable, similarly the paraphernalia in Vrindavan is worshipable. The trees, roads, river, everything is worshipable. A pure devotee thus sings, Jaya Jaya Vrindavana Vasi Jata Jan. All glories to the residents of Vrindavan. Hari Bol. If a devotee has a staunch devotional attitude, all these conclusions will be awakened or revealed within the heart. Yasya deve parabhakti yata deve tatha gurau tasyaiti katitahi artha prakashyante mahatmanaha. Only unto those great souls who have implicit faith in both the Lord and the spiritual master are all the imports of Vedic knowledge are automatically revealed. Shvetashvatara Upanishad 6.23. Thus, following the footsteps of Mahārāja Pratāparudra and other devotees, we should learn to worship everything belonging to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is referred by Lord Shiva as Tadiyanam. In Padma Purana it is said, Aradhananam sarvesham Vishnur aradhanam param tasmat parataram devi Tadiyanam samacharam. O Devi, the most exalted system of worship is the worship of Lord Vishnu. Greater than that is the worship of Tadiya or anything belonging to Vishnu. Shri Vishnu is Sat-Chit Ananda Vigraha. Similarly, the most confidential servant of Kṛṣṇa, the spiritual master, and all devotees of Vishnu are Tadiya. The Sachidananda Vigraha Guru, Vaishnavas, and the thing used by them must be considered Tadiya and without doubt worshipable for all living beings.
So, similarly, non-different from Vrindavan is Navadip Dham.
So similarly, not different from Vrindavan is Navadip Dham.
And Navadip is connected with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu.
And Navadip is connected with Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu.
Therefore, Navadip is also a Tadiya.
So therefore, Navadip is also a Tadiya.
Lord Chaitanya spent 18 years in Sri Kshetra.
Lord Chaitanya spent 18 years in Sri Kshetra.
Jagannath Puri can also be considered a Tadiya of Lord Chaitanya.
So Jagannath Puri is also can be considered a Tadiya of Lord Caitanya.
So those things are connected with Lord Chaitanya.
So those things that are connected to Lord Caitanya,
They're all absolute.
they are all absolute.
So Prabhupada had his son Acharya,
So Srila Prabhupada, as the ISKCON founder Acharya,
who was dedicated to carrying out the will of Lord Chaitanya and the previous Acharya,
who was dedicated in carrying out the will of Lord Caitanya and the previous Acharyas,
is also Tadiya.
he is also a Tadiya. Hare Krishna. Thus ends the chapter entitled King Pratāparudra gets the Bahirvāsa of Lord Caitanya by the tact of Nityānanda Prabhu.
Do you like our ad-free videos? Be sure to subscribe to our channel. We publish new videos every day, and don't forget to like and share our channel.